There was a loud pounding on my outer door, so I opened the door, and this professor rushed into my lab, pointed his finger in my face, and said, "We're not going to tolerate your religion in this department." As a teenager, I went to the National Youth Science Foundation for a summer off the coast of Portland, Maine, Great Diamond Island, where we used microscopes to look at aquatic microorganisms, and I got bit by the microscope bug, and I've been crazy about microscopes ever since. I called on California State University Northridge as a microscope vendor, and I used to take care of their microscopes, and they told me one day, "Hey, this electron microscope position is open," and so I thought, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I was ready to be able to run a laboratory. In fact, I'd run a laboratory for a couple of years before that at another university. I was invited to go to Montana, to the Badlands in Montana. It's actually called the Hell Creek Formation, a very famous dinosaur dig. And we were going to go look for long bones. Well, the last day before we were going to have to drive back to Los Angeles, the ranch owner suggested a new site. So we went to a new site, and there, sticking out of the side of the cliff, was about 2 inches of a Triceratops horn. We dug for 8 hours. We had to chip away large pieces of hard crystalline rock to get this horn out of there, but finally after 8 hours we had uncovered completely this horn. So when I looked at this bone there in Montana, I thought, I'm not going to find anything in this. So you can imagine my shock when I got back to the lab and found what I found. What I found when I cracked open the bone were large sheets of soft bone, stretchy bone.
So after making this discovery, he went ahead and published this in a peer-reviewed journal explaining exactly what he had found. Well, afterwards, one of the other professors there at Cal State University Northridge apparently didn't like this discovery, went into his office and made it very clear that he did not like our client's religion.
And so I tried my best to ameliorate the situation. I stayed calm, I smiled, I said, I'm not going to let this become an issue, and I offered to shake his hand. Well, he didn't shake my hand. And so I thought, this probably is not going to end well.
Our client reported this to the superiors there at the university, and we have no evidence at all that any kind of an investigation was done with regard to what was said to our client.
Now, California State Northridge has openly published that they're open to all viewpoints, that they tolerate all viewpoints. But in this case, they could not tolerate a young Earth creationist publishing in a major journal data, information that show that maybe evolution is wrong and maybe the Bible is right.
After this outrageous statement of intolerance towards our client, this same gentleman was later promoted to be his boss.
They phoned me and said, a secretary is coming over from the dean's office with your termination letter. And so a knock came on the door, I opened the door, and they handed me the termination letter, and I had 2 weeks' notice.
You know, I can't imagine being let go, even though I'm doing a good job, just because of my religious beliefs.
I was crushed that they would throw me out over a scientific paper that only produced straight science with no implications. I drew no conclusions in the paper. I simply said, we need to study this more.
This is a country where we are to take science as we find it and investigate it and explore it and not disqualify the science or the individuals who find it simply because it may support a religious belief. That's what happened to our client, and that's why we at Pacific Justice Institute are representing him today.